with one loser as well. That was MTN Uganda. MTN came out on the bottom with a pricing of about 185 Ugandan shillings, and that was after a loss of 2.49% of their price valuation. Of course, MTN Uganda has been one of the top gainers for the previous. Seen him come almost to 190 and up to 189 closing price on Friday, but as per Monday market's closure, we see that MTN Uganda lost a 2.49%. That's about 4.49 Ugandan shillings to a price of 185 on this day. Remember, these are influenced. These price fluctuations are influenced by a number of factors, but mainly they rely on demand and supply entirely for their, of course, reinstatement on the markets here in Uganda. And we say that these prices keep changing, definitely because of how the markets are moving and how people are able to trade on certain counters or not able to trade on other counters. These were the top gainers and the bottom loser. Now the market, of course, had about only 4 participants on Monday, and we see that amongst these 4 participants we ended with only 8 gainers and only 1 loser as well. Stanbic Bank leading the way. Now let's look at MTN Uganda in particular, who came out in this last position here on the stock markets of Monday. MTN Uganda, if you can look at this graph here, we can see that MTN Uganda has been, of course, one of the companies that have maintained a very resilient performance on the market, with prices since their IPO from 200 shillings dropping to the lowest price of 160, but notwithstanding, the company was able to gain value back to almost 180, and this price of 180 was maintained for some time, and we see between 180 and 200 there were a little bit of fluctuations there in pricing from the month of March 2022 to the month of May, all through the month of June. And we are seeing that in July there was a little slump in pricings, down from 180 to around 165, and then back to the 180 mark. But you can see that on average these pricings have been between 180 and 200. That is about 185. If you draw a line at 185, it will be able to cut across most of those points on the graph, meaning MTN Uganda is an investable stock because you can see these valuations. Of course, the lows are giving people to chance to invest and buying stock at lower prices, and then the highs, of course, are coming with a capital gain, enabling investors to be able to sell at higher prices. Details of this performance at MTN Uganda. Of course, MTN was listed on December 6th, 2021, opening the market with a price of 200 shillings, but it currently is the second most valuable stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange, with a market capitalization of 4.14 trillion Ugandan shillings, which makes about 19.3% of the entire Uganda Security Exchange equity market. Meaning, with the 4.14 trillion shillings market capitalization, MTN is currently, when you multiply the unit price of 185 shillings per price times the number of outstanding shares, coming up with a 4 trillion Uganda shillings mark, it is coming in second place in terms of having big values for shares. Meaning, when you multiply that amount of shares with the current price, you have MTN coming in the second place in terms of value of stock. and also that's a market performance indicator as well. And when we look at the outstanding shares, we have a total of about 22.4 billion shares that are listed on the Uganda Securities Exchange, with the traded volume, last traded volume yesterday of about 1,800 shares on the market. And we see that MTN Uganda has a total of 4.14 trillion market capitalization. However, with these 22.4 billion shares that are outstanding, it drives the total value of this stock at position number 2 in terms of the most valuable stocks. And MTN Uganda, in terms of 1 week performance, lost a value of 2.56%, and also a 2.5% drop from its previous closing price on Friday as well. So on a daily, it has lost 2.5%, but also on a weekly, there's a 2.5% loss. MTN, however, began the year with prices as high as 194.99, and looking at these prices, we see a loss of 5.12% in terms of year-to-date performance. So when you compare the price of 194.99 on the 1st of January 2022 to current pricings of 185 on the 25th of July, we see a 5.12% drop in price. That is from the price valuation point of view. This ranks MTN in terms of year-to-date performance in the 6th position on the Uganda Securities Exchange. MTN, however, is the 3rd most traded on stock. And when we talk about the most traded on stock, we are looking at how tradable the stock is, how much volumes has the company been able to transact over the period. And over the period of 3 months, from the 19th of April to the 25th of July 2022, MTN Uganda has been able to trade over 13.7 million shares on the Uganda Securities Exchange, and we are seeing a total value of these shares standing at over 2.55 billion Ugandan shillings over a period of just 3 months. So this indicates how tradable the MTN counter is. You want to come into buying a stock that you can easily sell, because like I said, you're not going to hold stock forever. Sometimes you're going to need sometimes to get maybe the money, maybe you need some money for investment, maybe you need some money for school fees. Now imagine you are buying into a company which hasn't traded for the last 2 years. How are you going to be able to convince people to buy this particular stock? How are you being able to find buyers on this stock? So when you're looking out for a stock to buy, make sure you have made enough research in as regards how tradable the stock is. How much volumes does the stock trade on average in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year, in 3 months? All these are performance indicators that guide you on the investment you're going to make. And of course, the stockbroker invests on your behalf and they look at the market 24 hours, 7. But also you having personal knowledge, being able to interpret this for yourself, making enough research about the company, and also coming to watch at least financial markets here at Smart 24, you are able to make an informed decision. You're able to be able to explain why when people ask you, why did you buy MTN stock? You're able to say, hey, did you know that in just 3 months, MTN was able to trade over 13.7 million shares on the market? That's a reason. That's a good reason for you to give. And definitely you will be able to be understood as someone who made an informed decision and knowing exactly what they are doing. And this is exactly what stockbrokers do. They give you guidance on the market. They give you advice, but you have to choose for yourself. They don't choose the companies for you. They don't choose which equities you're going to buy. They don't choose how much you buy. It's up to you. That's why this knowledge is quite important for your consumption as a probable investor, as a seasonal investor, someone who's going to invest in the markets for quite a good time. And now, currently, like I said, MTN is the third most traded stock. That is something you should look out for. And if it is the third most tradable stock, what are the other two coming ahead of them, ahead of MTN? You have to make that research and know and evaluate, okay, which one should I go with? On the exchange, of course, currently the most traded stock is Bank of Baroda, Uganda, by volumes. When we look at volumes traded in the recent past, we're seeing Bank of Baroda, Uganda coming the first place. But MTN is coming at a very close competition with the third position, but also with over 13.77 million shares that have just been traded in just 3 months. Now, these shares are valued at over 2.55 billion. Also, that is a factor because you look at the amount of money people have been able to transact on this particular counter in this specific period of time, and you also look at how much shares, and you also look at the period of time we're looking at, and you can see if you're able to invest given those conditions. If at all you are an investor back then, would you be happy with how the market is doing? Would you be happy with the value of your stock? Those are some of the things that you need to know as an investor. Now, we are seeing that on average, we have over 216,676 676 shares that are traded per session on average, and a peak of 2.11 million shares, which was achieved on the 12th of July 2022 within the same period of April 19th to 22nd of July. Now, these are also figures to help you understand that you need to look at what is the highest amount of shares that are traded within the period. And we're seeing that MTN had a total of over 2.11 million shares, which was achieved on the 12th of July, meaning on a single day, on the 12th of July, we had over people transact over 2.11 million shares. This is, of course, in terms of buying and selling stock. And this was achieved on the 12th. Now, of course, when you look at the volumes also in the past, we're seeing on a certain day, the 25th of July, we had over 1,800 shares. The 22nd, we had over 521,717. And we are seeing that the 2.1 million shares which were bought, which was traded on the 12th of July as well. We're also seeing 1.7 million shares on the 18th of July. So you see all these peaks give you an idea of how active this counter is and how the market is able to play out for this particular counter, that people are actually interested in buying this stock. MTN Uganda was co-founded in October 21st, 1998, and operates in the telecommunications sector. And on the market, they don't have any competitor yet. And you can see that graph there is just from 6th of December 2021 and July 25th, 2022. So MTN took over 20 years for it to realize that, hey, we need to get listed. And of course, they got that listing on 2022 in December 2021. And of course, we hope there will be some competition later on, of course, seeing that more telecommunications companies could come on board and list as well. When you go to Kenya, which is the listed equity there, is also is the biggest telecommunications company in Kenya there. And of course, they are doing very, very well in terms of their turnover. You see on a daily, they have very huge volumes of over 2 million, 1 million being traded on the counter for Safaricom. And of course, we hope to see that as well here for MTN. Mind you, MTN has also just changed administration from Mr. Wim van Helput, who has been the CEO for quite some time for MTN here in Uganda. and this particular CEO has been moved to a bigger position where he's going to be in charge of the Western African parts of the MTN subsidiaries there. And of course, we are having Madam Sylvia from Safaricom coming into MTN as a chief executive, which is a shift in leadership. As an investor, you must be aware of that. You must know that now we are changing governance. Are we changing to better governance? Are we looking at a better leader? So what should we expect from the new leader? Should we expect more profits for MTN, Uganda? Should we expect more innovative ideas, more financial technologies? These and all are what the concerns of an investor should be all the time. And of course, when you do that, you will be able to understand how wonderful this stock market is and how particularly you can be able to gain from the market. And of course, looking at the other stocks here that were able to make a little bit of impact, Stanbic Bank also came in there very handy, and we see that Stanbic at a 21 shillings closing price gained by 0.96 cents and gained by about 4.79% on the stock market there. And we see that that was after very steady pricings. If you look at the graph, Uganda, you see they had very stable prices between the month of September 2021 all the way to the month of March 2021. All their prices were between 25 and 27.5, meaning around 26.5 or 26 shillings average. But we see that there was a slump, there was a little bit of decline from the month of March, down from 26 to 25 and May. Then we see from 25 to 22.5 and down to over 20. The lowest I think they have hit within the period. That period, you can see that they hit the 20 shillings mark. And when they hit that mark, of course, that was on a Friday. That was one of the hugest losses we have seen for the company there on the stock price valuation. But they later on regained and are now coming back as the top gainers for Monday at a price of 21 shillings after gaining for about 4.79% of this particular stock. And you can see they traded volumes of over 76,300 and at 1.16 million on that particular day. And we see that this drove their market capitalization to 1.07 trillion, and their shares outstanding we are seeing at 51.2 billion, and that brought them to a 1 week gain of 2. that they're competing well with the other stocks on the market. We see that Stanbic Bank, of course, deals in the financial services sector, and the competitors on the market are, of course, the ones in the banking sector and the investment sector, looking at banks like Bank of Baroda, DFCU, Equity Bank, and Jubilee Holdings. You should also evaluate companies based on their competitors on the market within especially the same sector, so you can invest in the best in every sector. If it's the financial services, if it's in properties, invest in the best. Industrial services, invest in the best. And that's the way you do it, by evaluating all the companies, using the year-to-date, using the current daily performance, and as well as the traded volumes. That was a Stanbic there for you. We're going to take another very quick break, and we return, of course, with the other counters on the market, and then we shall cross over to Nairobi to have also a look at what transpired on their market. Stay with us.